And Ambassador Dogra, if I may, what do you make of Imran Khan's statement? Is this then an absolute endorsement? Does this explain why he's called Taliban Khan when Imran Khan says Afghanistan has broken the shackles of slavery after Taliban takes over?
Well, before I respond to that, let me make one clarification. The airfield in Kabul called Hamid Karzai Airport is under American control.
Yes.
From the moment American soldiers landed there, they have taken over the ATC as well as the perimeter security. The second point which was being made by me was that anyone, when he sees people clinging to an aircraft, should they allow that aircraft to take off? Is human life, non-American human life, not important, not valuable in the minds of the Americans? Third, there's not even a single person in the world, with maybe one or two exceptions, who has endorsed or supported the American decision to withdraw in the manner that they have done and to take care only of the American interests.
Okay.
That is what their negotiations with Taliban were, which will come out eventually. So let's not make irresponsible statements against panelists. Second, as far as Imran Khan is concerned, you played out two important statements which is made today. The first one was about the new education policy,
yes,
which is a repeat of what Ziaul Haq had done, and which is Islamization of the school policy, whether it is private schools, public schools, or madrasa schools. The second thing is about the slavery, the mental slavery. Yes, Imran Khan is absolutely right. Taliban were feeling suffocated under the American presence and under a democratic system. So now they are free from those chains, according to Imran Khan. But it also reveals openly and to the world at large that Imran Khan supports fully Taliban,
yes,
because he has been told to make that statement by ISI, which was at the back of every major Taliban move in Afghanistan. Otherwise, the kind of sophistication that they've done in messaging would not have been possible at all.
Very interesting.
I think we have
the
to be
messaging. So it's not just the war, but it's also the information war. And that information war was not being fought just by the Taliban. It was the Pakistan Army and ISI guiding them through it. Sir, we are getting a reaction also from China. Beijing appears to be celebrating the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan, using this crisis in Kabul to take pot shots at the United States. On your screens are reactions from China government, the PRC's mouthpiece, the Global Times. It's hailed Taliban, saying that this group's leader urged leaders to conquer cities with a benevolent heart. Taliban has a benevolent heart, according to Global Times. It then goes on to mock the United States, saying that the Americans were forced to flee. Journalist Hu Jin, who's seen as a government puppet, has claimed that China is Afghanistan's friend, no matter who's in power, indicating that the Chinese government is ready to do business with the Taliban. He also tweeted mocking America, saying the transition of power in Afghanistan was smoother than the transition of power between two governments in the United States of America. But one thing is clear, the Taliban is taking over Afghanistan. Citizens are worried about atrocities that already appear to be taking place on ground. The previous Taliban rule saw citizens being flogged, women denied education and basic rights, and injustice who didn't follow the Taliban's diktats.
History is repeating itself in the worst form in Afghanistan. The country has once again fallen to Taliban, and Afghans around the world are fearing the worst. The memories of its barbaric rule haunts everyone. From ill-treating women to destroying religious sites, Taliban's rise has been catastrophic for the people of Afghanistan. The Taliban spell witnessed horrific treatment of women as Taliban banned education and work for women and girls and restricted their access to healthcare, confining them to full head-to-toe veil. Taliban radicals systematically abducted women from the Tajik, Uzbek, Hazara and other ethnic minorities, only to be forced into sexual slavery. These women were given as rewards to terrorists for victory. In Kabul, Mazar-e-Sharif and Jalalabad, women were forced to wed terrorists of Taliban and Al-Qaeda who enslaved and raped them. During the rule in December 1997, Taliban bombed United Nations planes bringing in food to Bamiyan's Hazara. In 1998, United Nations accused the Taliban of denying emergency food by the UN's World Food Programme to 160,000 hungry and starving people for political and military reasons. The year also saw a large number of political and other extrajudicial killings. On August 8, 1998, there were reports of mass killings of civilians and prisoners by the Taliban during and after the capture of Mazar-e-Sharif. The terrorist outfit also implemented its own puritanical interpretation of Islamic Sharia law and traditional tribal codes of justice, leading to harsh trial and barbarism in the name of justice. Public flogging, stoning to death of women, public executions were extremely common practices. Taliban also indulged in cultural genocide by destroying the centuries-old Buddha statues in Bamiyan and wiping out Afghanistan's religious heritage and glorious past. As the Taliban takeover is complete in Afghanistan, attack on safety of minorities and women and brazen rights violations threaten to engulf the ill-fated country. Bureau Report, India Today.
And when you see the dark days of Taliban, that's what people are scared of, that they're willing to risk their lives, cling on to the undercarriage of an aircraft and try and escape the Taliban Raj. A quick break. Back with lots more. Stay with us here on India Today.